With me is David Lobo, who is a very interesting, unusual person. David has called, and to earn that, David, a million coconut palms. Could you explain that figure to us?
Uh, I'm sorry, just repeat that sentence. A million?
A million coconut palms. I mean, like you have,
No.
you,
Yes, I understand. We have breeding stock, that means mother dwarf palms, in large enough quantities that will produce 1 million hybrid seedlings a year.
okay. At the moment, how many you all are doing at the moment?
We are at a 500,000 mark. The new farms have been planted and just going into production. So over the next 3 years, we will hit our 1 million.
Okay, so to begin with a gentle introduction, we can't presume that everyone knows David Lobo, though a lot of people do know him and his work. So to give a brief introduction, David has actually taken it on as his lifelong mission to produce and propagate good and high yielding coconut seedling varieties in across India, particularly in the southwest coast of India, the southern region. And I think you've done a very good job of it. David, could you give us a summary of your achievements, for example, till date?
Uh, yes, certainly. I'll be happy to. Um, the coconut palm falls into two categories, a dwarf palm and a tall palm. The dwarf palm yields quickly but is weak and is not commercial. A tall palm takes longer, is stronger, but does not yield very much. When you cross the two, you get a hybrid, which is what we do, and then you get the best from both sides, early production and high production. So that is what we want to continuously keep improving. We emasculate the dwarf palm. That means when the flower comes out, we remove the male flowers, leaving the female buttons. We bring pollen from the tall palms and hand pollinate each button. We then bag that spade so that other pollen doesn't fall on it. We last year pollinated by hand 4 million buttons. Does
Wow.
that give you an idea of what
Yes,
we
yes,
do?
yes. Those are very impressive figures and statistics. But how did it all get started, and when did you start?
1982, I met a Professor Anthony Davis, a UN expert, who saw what we were doing in poultry and convinced me to start coconut breeding. He said if one did a really good job the right way and did not give the farmer mixed bag, I'll explain that later, we could in fact change the circumstances of the small farmer. And we find that's happening. Um, he wanted us to create a hybrid. He showed us how. His research was what he implemented to us. And today we have the Sampurna hybrid.
So, so you are with me. I hope there's a bit of a glitch on the line, but you started in 1982, right, David?
We met him 1983. We started 2005. We made our first profit. It was a long journey. By 2010, the seedling were well established. I think we were by that time the largest in the country. I think by 2015 it was a farm of choice, not just in India, but even through our exports. And we started our joint ventures internationally from then on, and we continue. And we do hope it would be recognized as hopefully the best farm hybrid in the world. There's something
Okay.
special. We have a special breeding program. which others do not follow. We have changed the architecture of the coconut tree, not by genetic modification, no, just by selection. For example, a tall coconut tree will have 12 leaves a year, totally about 35, 36 leaves. Our tree has 18 leaves a year. A tall coconut tree would have a leaflet breadth of around 4 centimeters. Ours is 6 centimeters. So it can trap more light, produce more food, create more production.
David, to give us an idea of where you are based, where are your operations currently?
Our head office is Bangalore, but this is not an ideal place for breeding. Our main farm, which we started in 1983, is on 200 acres in Madurai. We have a farm in Karnataka, Bailur. We have another farm in Tamil Nadu near Ambur, one in Andhra Pradesh in Penukonda, about an hour and a half from Bangalore. And about our main operations today are in Goa, and we have around 400 acres in Goa.
I see. Which areas of Goa?
South Goa only, so that logistically it's easier to manage the farms. There are about 5 farms for around Sangye.
I see. But David, what's more interesting is the way in which you got started. So earlier you were a priest, if I'm not mistaken. So what's the connection between the priesthood and the coconut farms?
Oh, good question. I never thought of it, but I'll try and answer it. Though I wasn't a priest, I had done 6 years as a student in the seminary, and then I left before ordination. But what is
Which seminary?
real good is I
Which seminary?
learned how to get on with people, how to get the best out of people. I got my basis in life. What is that? The purpose of life would be to make the world a better place through business, which is through business that makes profit through service. And it's all coming together very nicely in what is happening today.
So basically, for you, the coconut is a way towards improvement of the lives of a large number of people, right?
Yes,
Give us an idea. Give us an idea of how why it affects the economy so much. This particular one single tree.
sure. The coconut tree in general is known as a tree of life. Kerala, the state, is actually named after the coconut tree, the land of coconuts. That's the meaning. And it is the livelihood of around 10 million small farmers around the tropical world. The great advantage of the coconut tree is it gives you a monthly income. Most or all agriculture gives you an annual or biannual income. How does the farmer manage the rest of his time? The rest of his For the rest of the year, how does he manage his finances? The coconut tree solves that problem by giving him continuously for the next 50, 60 years an monthly income. We found that of our small farmers, 1 to 3 acres, we checked our records. We have about 5 or 6 thousand of them. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. We did the survey, a rough survey, it's not an exact survey. And we found about 5,000 of them had their own homes, their own uh, vehicles, their children in school. And for us, that's being in the middle class. So we were very happy. And studying it some more, we found that 10 coconut trees gives financial security. I'm talking of the high yielding hybrids. 10 coconut trees earns 3,000 rupees a month, and that keeps the money lender away. Uh, 50 coconut trees gives we call it financial comfort. The farmer earns 15,000 rupees a month. And with 100 coconut trees, we say the farmer earns financial freedom. And with 30,000 rupees a month, he's able to move into a different way of life. 100 trees is 1.5 acres.
Apart from all this is the immense use that this single tree has to life locally in large parts of the tropics and of course in India primarily also. It has been called the Karpavix, the giver of life, and it's also treated with a lot of respect in all our old books, including in Portuguese books and things like that. So, could you talk about the role of the coconut tree in food? I mean, that's a vast plane, I know, but just give us a hint.
Yes, it's absolutely a marvelous tree. I believe the coconut tree has shaped the boundaries of countries and colonies. The colonization by Europe could not have happened if it wasn't for the coconut tree. How do you carry food for months together on your ships? There was no refrigeration. So it was the coconut tree which gave water and food, um, and and that's how they could undergo months of travel. A few interesting factors. There was the Portuguese general, the Spanish general, sorry, in Manila. The Philippines was taken over by the Spaniards and it had become a Spanish colony. He, in 1684, made every local person plant 200 coconut trees so that they always had enough coconuts for their journeys to carry on to the west coast of America, which from the Philippines they went across there. They couldn't do all this without the coconut tree. There were
Yeah,
many other interesting
yeah.
things
I mean,
about the
that
coconut.
that could be a bad advertisement because you're saying the coconut tree gifted us with colonization, but on the other hand, it has also created sustainable life for millions in that sense. No?
Precisely, you're right.
But David, this is the macro picture. Now coming down to your own story, what were the most difficult things and what were the milestones in setting up this venture, which has been now almost 40 years old, right?
Yes, that's right.
So
Uh,
what were the milestones? Yeah.
the most difficult thing is the long gestation period of the coconut tree, and coconut breeding is even longer. The second is the high cost of money in India. Uh, Abroad, getting loans at 2, 3, 4% is not difficult, but in India, it's nowhere close to that. The long gestation period builds the interest component and makes many projects non viable as a result. Our, our breeding program actually took 22 years to make its first profit. Those are
And
the
in,
biggest difficulties.
and in the lab, how does it progress from seed to full blown coconut tree? I've seen the pictures on your site and they're very impressive. But how do you reach there?
What's the question, exact question again?
How does what's the life cycle of the coconut seed right up to becoming a big plant? How do you select it? How do you choose it?
Yes, I'll give you a quick rundown.
Take your
Just
time. Take your
before,
time.
the spathe is the flower stem that comes out from every leaf stalk. It's a strong spathe, and just before it normally naturally opens, we cut it open to remove the male flowers before they mature. The female buttons are left on the spade. About a week to 10 days later, when they start maturing, every day a few mature. There may be between 30 and 100 female buttons on a spade. We pollinate them by hand as they mature. They take around 10 days to mature. So we have around 30,000 palms, and those which are flowering climbed almost 17 to 18 times a month to put the little dab of pollen on the tip of the button. And as I mentioned, it was done 4 million times last year. Uh, the buttons, many fall off, around 30% get pollinated. They grow 12 months later into mature coconuts. We harvest at that stage, hold them for a few weeks till the water in the nut reduces to around one third, and then we plant them in nurseries, and some grow a little quicker, some grow a little slower, and over the next 6 months we would have around 70% germination, as we as the mother which gives us the seed is a dwarf. It's not so viable and strong. If you took seeds from a tall palm, you should get 90 to 95% germination, but we don't get that with the dwarf mother. This germination results in a seedling. However, people cannot tell between one seedling and another. So, when they are buying a seedling, if someone says this is hybrid, how can you tell the difference between a hybrid and a non hybrid? They all look the same. Hmm? Anthony Davis gave us a secret where he says, no, you cannot have a person spend 6 years to find out he does not have a hybrid. And he gave us a color coding system. The dwarf mother comes from a village called Kulashekaram in Tamil Nadu, where he, sorry,
No problem.
where Anthony Davis did his research with that and another dwarf, and he got spectacular results. This mother is yellow in color. So if you come to our gardens, all our trees are yellow because they are mother palm. Yellow is recessive. We use the pollen of a tall which is green. Green is dominant. So when the seedlings sprout, any yellow sprout is not a hybrid. A yellow nut giving us a green sprout is a hybrid. So I think we are among the very few people around the world that can be sure we're giving a farmer a hybrid. Otherwise, if you go into the marketplace, every tall tree which you can buy in the marketplace for 50 rupees or 100 rupees is not hybrid. It's a tall, but it's also green. So when you see the two, you can't tell the difference. In our farm, we only have yellow nuts being planted, from which we get green sprouts, which proves to us they are hybrid.
David, you're describing a very labor-intensive kind of operation. How do you cope with getting sourcing this labor in that sense?
This is a very challenge, a very serious challenge, and one we have to look after well. Um, we are at, we could be at the ransom of our workers. Fortunately, our workers are sometimes more loyal to us than some of the rest of us. They are so good. I think it's mutual. We treat them well, we want them to get a better life, and they also look after our circumstances well.
And
They are dedicated. We have almost 450 workers for just the emasculation and pollination. So you can imagine the overall challenge we have.
and the related question would be, how do places like Goa cope with plucking and things like that, where generations of coconut pluckers have been phased out of operation?
Yes, sure. The problem today is when you have to hire a plucker who harvests 5 or 8 or 10 nuts from a tree, it becomes too costly. But if that same, normally a plucker is brought in once in 3 months, so he's plucking 3 bunches. But for us, in 3 months, there would be 4 or 5 bunches to be plucked. So the quantity plucked is much more, the cost per nut comes down a lot. However, we have got groups who are now going out as a profession to pluck coconuts, but these groups are in the south. We are trying to encourage groups to start in the north. There are climbing machines which are easy to use and quite safe, and we use them for all our staff.
Yeah. Uh, I'm just trying to share your screen, your website, because you have some fascinating pictures down there,
Yes,
particularly of your coconuts and things like that. This is full of coconuts.
in the gallery you'll get the pictures.
Okay. How do I reach the gallery on
It's
the
I think it's
products?
uh,
Products. So
uh, learn
I,
contact.
I'll get there.
I
Eventually,
should know
I'll go
more
there.
than
Okay.
okay.
We are getting there. So very tiny coconut tree starts with a whole lot of nuts.
Let me just point out that tree gets its shortness from the mother.
Okay.
It gets its high yield through the hybridization of mother and father.
Yeah. And of course, I must add that your saplings don't come very cheap. This is not a criticism because I know there's a lot of value in it. Could you give us an idea of the cost?
Yes, I'm happy to share with you. Um, we have a phrase: a sale is not complete until the farmer gets the anticipated benefit. So we've put a lot of time into breeding, into research. We do not compromise. We cannot control the birds and the bees and the flies and the insects. And so we get 30% of the hybrids we produce are pollinated by the wrong pollen, and we discard 30% of the trees. We destroy them. We do not let them leave our garden. Um, so this builds up the cost. We have another factor called the CIP, Continuous Improvement Program, where every year 1, 2, or 3% of the worst performers are removed of the mothers, and we put in a new batch of pedigreed new mothers. What does that mean? We have a selection program using the computer. We are the only people in the world that have got the data on 30,000 farms from the day they were planted and their monthly yields. So the computer selects, and then we do hand selection after that. We see the trees. We have an entire research team that does this work. And then we take a father and a specific family of mothers and produce the highest quality next generation of mothers. So we are constantly changing a small percentage of our farms, but that means we constantly have a number of farms, 15 to 20%, which are not in yield. It's so easy for us to just change the entire garden after 15 years or 20 years and then go 3 or 4 years without any production. But this way, we prefer to lose 20% production every year, but keep on continuously giving a better hybrid. Slowly, the quality is going up and up. For example, today, I could say that the mothers we started off with had around 15 leaves a year. Today, the average is 20 leaves a year per mother, not in its lifetime. In its lifetime, it's 35, 36. But per year, because the year is very important because that gives us the number of bunches of coconuts we will get. So uh, we even have some mothers now giving us 26 and 27 leaves per year. This means 26 or 27 bunches of nuts in the hybrid. Uh, the, the, the number of these farms are not very much, but I'm increasing the number. And every year we hope to increase the leaf output per tree.
For those who are just joining us and wondering what we are going on about, I'd just like to say that with me is David Lobo, who's called the Coconut Farm Man of India, and he's done an enormous job in promoting hybrids among coconuts, and his crops are like known for the. If you see the photos on his website, which is BJ Coconuts, BJY coconuts.com, you'll be surprised as to whether coconut trees can be bearing so fruitfully, but they do. And many people swear by David, and he has his skeptics. We will come to that later. But David, where all are your palms sold, and how does one reach across to them? Are they available in retail, wholesale only, or what?
Um, uh, Well, we only sell the seedling. We have two, the Sampurna, which is the common purpose, the very good seedling hybrid. And we have another hybrid called the Pushkala, which is meant for processing. There are quite a few tender coconut processing factories coming up. They prefer to buy this. We say there's a minimum of 600 ml of tender coconut water, but the coconuts I opened had 800 and 900 ml each. So that's meant for processing, not for the regular farmer. Uh, uh, sorry,
Where are where are they available?
yes. The nurseries, we have a nursery in Goa, in Bailur, in Karnataka, in Madurai, in Andhra Pradesh, we have one on the east coast. We have one more in Penukonda.
Goa is at Sangay, I think, but deliveries are also done in cities and other areas,
In Goa,
right?
it's actually in Bali.
Bali.
Bali, yes.
So what you're also suggesting is that the farmers don't grudge the higher price, initial higher price, because because they get the return from it.
You are right, but there is a genuine point of view. The farmer finds the price very high. We cannot help that because our costs are so high, as you would have calculated from what I said earlier. However, we did produce another palm, uh, which we call the Vishwas, which was not as good a yielder, which gives 50 to 80 nuts less, and we sold it at half the price. But when farmers when they complained about the price, we said we have another one, and they had the option to buy the cheaper one. And then they said, but why should I buy the cheaper one? Because in 1 year's time, I could buy so many more plants. And for the next 50 years, I lose that income every year. So I pointed out to them that they were right. And we think they should buy the better seedling, but if they can't afford it, we understand. You know something? We have to close down the Vishwas. The farmers are smart enough and intelligent enough to know they're planting once in their lifetime. Any other plant, the tomato, the onion, rice or wheat, you can plant and after 3 months, 6 months, change your crop, but not with the coconut tree. You have to
What is
plant
what's the life
only once.
what's the life expectancy of the coconut?
Our coconut tree, we don't know for a fact. The oldest trees are about 33, 34 years old, doing very well. Um, we think 50 to 60 years because other hybrids which are in the market are doing very well. We believe it will be 50 to 60 years. Um, so we feel that farmers should not wait because we hope 30 years from now or uh, whenever the farmer wishes to replant, he should do so because we are giving a better plant steadily as we go forward. In fact, we have a phrase good is not good for the coconut farmer when the best is available. He should not go for what is good. He must go for what is best because he is buying only once in his life.
What is your record of culture of production from a single tree, and what's the
Well,
average?
we have a large number of farmers. Our main area of growing coconuts is Polachi in Tamil Nadu. That supplies a lot of tender coconuts all over Tamil Nadu to Calcutta. Some of it goes up to Delhi. We have now about 3 million trees in Polachi. And the farmers are getting wholesale around 30 rupees a coconut. They do nothing. The trader plays them in advance, comes to their garden with his harvesters. Um, Only condition is he must be able to fill a truck. So the harvesters collect the coconuts uh, and they count, and they've already paid in advance. And the farmer counts the coconuts, counts the money, and that's all he has to do besides managing his plants.
So the best seed has been how many nuts?
Oh, sorry, I didn't come to that. Um, we say an average should be 250. This depends on management and location. We find this happening in most places. We find a few farmers have averaged over 400 nuts per tree per year. This is an average. The pictures you saw in our website are pictures of trees giving 500 and 600 nuts. We only show the nice pictures, but the average we claim is 250 nuts. So, compared to the normal tree outside, you get with fairly good management 80 nuts per tree per year. This is three times more.
David, which areas have your products done the best at? Which
Uh,
parts of it?
in Polachi, they've done the very best. In fact,
Kolachi is a taluka or what is it?
Pollachi is a taluka of Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. It's between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, actually.
Okay. So when it comes to extending coconut cultivation, which areas of India could it move out to now?
See, normally any place which where the temperatures don't drop below 12 degrees centigrade in winter, and if you have enough water for the summer, the heat does not matter. Hmm? So anywhere in India is okay. Uh, we need to find out exactly certain conditions why some areas do not do as well as other areas. We've not yet found out, but we do know that shade in many places all along the west coast, starting from Kerala, where we have sold a number of seedlings, farmers plant with their other trees. There's a lot of tree growth and they don't have full sunlight. The coconut tree needs full sunlight. Hmm? So that's an important factor. What are the other factors? Water is another one. We need to find that out. Normally, along the coast, water is not short. So it's other areas which may have a problem. However, the coconut tree can take a certain amount of saline conditions and therefore it can manage even in waters along the beach, for example. Not a problem.
So are your superior yielding trees a bit demanding? Do they expect certain kinds of environments or water requirements?
Yes, when we started, we used to say 200 liters per palm per day. Through various management systems, we brought that down to 120 liters of water per palm per day. This is, I'm talking in the summer, of course. Hmm? And we are doing research right now, and it's showing very good results that even 40 liters per palm per day with special arrangements made is not just giving good production, but giving better and earlier production. So there's some research going on to save the fertilizer use, the water use, and still get more seedlings per acre with a little bit of crowding and better productivity per tree and per acre. That is the present research.
David, any skepticism towards your plants? I mean, people don't believe the claims, or what is it? Have you come across these kind of problems or issues?
See, in the first place, there are always skeptics, especially the competitors. They would have theirs to say, but I should not criticize anybody else. I would talk about our own reasons and our causes in some places where we have not insisted on cutting down the trees around the coconut trees and giving full sunlight. I think we have this problem by and large in Goa. We don't give enough sunlight. And then, of course, cutting down a tree is a big problem in Goa. The forest department and all the other problems. In my own garden, I cannot cut down a few thousand forest trees, and I've got to hope our coconut trees will manage. Hmm? Because trees which have grown up over the years are there. So we are getting permission, and as per the permission, we reduce these shade giving trees. So this is a problem everywhere of shade. Shade will directly affect the performance, the flowering of the tree. We are studying right now whether a high iron level in the soil, which is along the west coast, could have that effect. We are trying to find out why in Kolachi they are doing so well. In fact, when farmers, especially a large farmer, wants to start, we say, no, first come and see what farmers are doing. See how they are doing it. Hmm? We try and get them to come first to see, and we take them to Kolachi.
David, one question: which countries in the world do we have to learn from as far as coconut cultivation, coconut promotion goes? Which countries have done well?
I think in coconut breeding, India is ahead of everybody. Hmm? I don't think we have also got the first to be able to grow a coconut tree from an embryo. You know, just um, so exports can be easier. Growing embryo and growing it to a plantlet, and then you can put 100 in a small box and export it. So India, in a way, is really ahead of the breeding game. But if you're looking at processing, oh, India is far behind. Even Sri Lanka, the small country, and our neighbor, processes the biggest plant processes 1 million coconuts per day. And our largest plant cannot run at 65,000 coconuts per day. It has just been sold because they couldn't manage to make it work profitably. Because when they start buying nuts, the prices go up and they have a problem. They should have had their own gardens as well and then produce at least 30% of their requirements so they don't depend on the marketplace. And many are doing this now, especially abroad. We've got some very good, very good reports from Malaysia, where officially they gave us a report that within 30 months, over 20% of the palms had already flowered. So they were very happy. And therefore, we need to do a lot more study. For this, we have started a genome project. Our coconut tree, we are identifying the genome. We are trying to find out what makes it tick. How can we make that better? I don't know too much. There are experts who tell me what we should do.
In terms of suggestions for India, what is the road ahead? What would you suggest that we need to be looking at more closely?
The first thing I think is all of every state should declare coconuts as a plantation crop where land sealing does not block them. Goa is lucky. There is no land sealing, but every other state has land sealing. Goa is also, in a way, unlucky. All the big houses are comfortable with their tourism or their or their iron mines, manganese mines. They've never thought of coconut. But coconuts can give you a super product, exports, huge returns, better than 100% return, in fact. So they should look at it. Second, what should government do? Find out ways to reduce the cost of money for farmers growing coconut trees. That's a very important thing. Thirdly, government should recognize that the coconut tree actually is the best plant in India, even for edible oil. There's a big program to plant palm oil. Hmm? Oil palms in the country, huge program being undertaken. It's really, in my opinion, a failure. In Goa, just get the view of people who planted it. I know people who don't even harvest their trees, but that's the situation there.
Oil palm.
Oil palm, that's right. Hmm? So when they first started, uh, they did not have an alternative. But now they do have an alternative. Our coconut tree and other good hybrids produce as much as the oil palm does. And there are so many other products. And you don't have a gun to your head as the palm oil farmer has. He has to go only to one market, the factory. Our coconut tree can last for months together. The oil palm, after harvesting, must reach the factory within a day or two. It gets spoiled, and so on. There are many, many advantages of the coconut tree, and maybe we can send you a list, and you can write an article on it. There are many, many advantages.
Sorry, you should do that, David, because that's long awaited. I remember the supporters of the Konkani language when there was a big dispute between Konkani and Marathi, saying that our language is so rich. We have 57 words. I don't know how they arrived at this figure. We have 57 words dealing with parts of the coconut tree or uses of the coconut tree. 57 words in Konkani in that sense. And
Wow.
then, yeah, yeah, I've been trying to locate and put that together. It makes sense because in the dictionary you find a whole lot of coconut usages also and parts of the tree and products of the tree and all these kind of things. So 57 is not too far fetched. It's like the Eskimo who has say 27 words for snow, for different
I
forms of
see.
snow. And there was a book written in the 1700s or 1600s, a booklet, a Chinese booklet called Ars Palmarica, The Art of Growing the Coconut Tree. It's in Portuguese and I'm desperate to translate it, in my role as a publisher and things like that. But I've not been able to because it's old Portuguese. Whatever. But yeah, coconuts have played a huge role in our lives, no doubt about it. I think, David, a question has come up from someone. Here, someone called Chris Roth, who says in a syntroptic agroforestry system without synthetics, what yield could be expected?
Just repeat that. I missed it.
Okay, okay. In a syntropic agroforestry system with no synthetics, what yield could be expected? It's below
What
your screen.
yield?
It's at the bottom of your screen. It's too technical for me. I'm a bit lost here, so I hope the question makes sense.
Uh, we are studying this, Chris. By the way, um, uh, I know Chris is an expert in his own area. We are studying this, Chris. We are uh, finding out that this high yielding tree is suffering when only organics are used. So we are trying to find new and better ways to help all farmers who want to have organic coconut farming to reach the goals. We don't know yet what the exact answer is. What yields could be expected? If you're going for tender coconuts, I would say around 50 nuts less. That means 250 nuts per tree per year. And if it is mature coconuts, I would say around 200 nuts. Again, 50 nuts less. When you take tender coconuts, the yield goes up by 30% because the load on the tree reduces dramatically. The bunch is harvested at 7 months, after which the oil and the kernel and the protein gets put down. So the load on the tree is dramatically reduced and production goes up 30%. I hope I answered your question, Chris.
So, David, what next? What next from here? What is the road ahead? I know you put in a lifetime of work and it's so amazing, but what's coming up next? Give us a
Uh,
hint.
I see the coconut tree as being creating a paradigm shift in agriculture. It allows almost every other plant to be planted under it as an intercrop. A small farmer can plant it on his borders and still continue to plant everything. If he just has 1 acre, he could get around 30 trees on his border, which would earn him in the region of 2 lakhs a year, and he should still plant all the other crops he was regularly planting. So, can we get farmers to look at coconut trees just like the general, what's his name? Guerrissimo, I think it was from Spain, who ordered everybody to plant coconut trees. So, yes, something like that uh, should be done. And we can have a paradigm shift in agriculture in the tropics.
For a small farmer, David, what are the places on the net or in real life where they could go out and get information to get started, whether it's DJs or someone else, even government sources? Can
There
you
are many
suggest?
people who will help. We have been doing it for a long time. Whether you buy seedlings from us or not, uh, we are still ready to help. We'll send you a project report. Um, Info at djfarm.com is what you'll find on our website. And there are other names there. Write to anyone. For those who do buy seeds from us, we have an app. It's called uh, DJ for You. And there, by sending pictures of your plants, we have an expert who will give answers and advice to problems, to needs, to anything you may have. So you don't have to wait for somebody to come and visit. Just getting this app, we can help you much, much faster.
So actually, Chris Rock is based where in the Ivory Coast?
I think so. He's in the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
Uh, he
I,
was
I've never, I've never heard. I've never. I think geographically positioning these countries, and it's amazing to get responses. Thank you so much, Chris, for participating in this online discussion. I'm sorry that we couldn't get you on, but we can read you. And Chris said that he's going to try us out in his new farm in the AFS, his new farm in the Ivory Coast, and he said he's going to contact you. So that's
Chris. Drop me a line. I'm happy to help in any way.
your contacts. Can you share your contacts? David.
Uh,
David. Yes.
my David Lobo at djfarm.com. My website is www.djfarm.com. So it's quite easy.
Yeah, yeah. I just share it here so that it
Yes,
becomes easy.
please.
But David, looking back, if you had another chance to start all over again, and we are talking about this 40-year long and eventful and momentful journey, which is now coming into culmination because it takes so long to gestate and all these kind of things. So, in that sense, if you had a chance to start all over again, which I wouldn't wish it on you or on my worst enemy because it's a lot of work and you've done amazingly well, but what would you have done differently?
I would have had myself as a guide. With the previous experience I have, 40 years, I would have done
No,
it
no, that's not fair. That's not
significantly.
fair. You have zero experience because you're starting from the scratch now. You're starting from the scratch. So anyway, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Carry on.
Well, we have a problem. I think I would have done the same thing because it was a journey of discovery. We did not follow the routine way everybody does coconut breeding. Anthony Davis told us not to. Everybody takes one variety, crosses with another. Do I get better results? And then they uh, publish that. And in India, we have maybe 100 different commercial varieties. But as I said, with coconut farming, good is not good when the best is available. No use planting second best. You're stuck with that for the rest of your life. So government giving 100 trees, 100 varieties, it's not really fair to the small farmer. Giving out free seedlings is not good. That farmer is trapped for the rest of his life. The focus should be on making the best. Every state's palm, which is the best one in that state, make it even better. And that's what we select. We do selection of the mother palms. We have 7 or 8 criteria. Of course, the most important criteria is the yield, and then the size of the nut, the size of the tree, the number of branches, the breadth of the leaflet, and so on and so forth, as I hinted at. Okay. So we learned this over the years. I could have maybe have saved 30 to 40% of the time if I knew that earlier. But if I did not, I'd probably repeat everything again because nobody's done it this way before. And I think we seeing the results in the field with our plants getting slowly, steadily better, I think we are on the right track.
David, one selfish question because we have this issue in Goa, that of coconut pluckers. I think we were discussing this in the past where you gave some solutions, you offered some way out, and you said that, if a person does a certain number of trees, he could get a certain income. Could you explain how do we solve this issue in semi-urbanized areas where the youth may not be interested to go into coconut plucking?
Well, the government has actually initiated a very good program, and we help them. We trained a number of the people for them in every taluka. I think they still have a list of coconut tree climbers at a fee. I think they charge 20 rupees a tree to climb, and they can be phoned and contacted. From our point of view, there are equipment. They have equipment to climb a tree. An individual can buy that equipment for 3 or 4,000 rupees. We
With a
use it
subsidy.
for.
With a subsidy. With a subsidy.
That's right, and there's a subsidy. Goa is one of the best states in the country to help its farmers. I must admit that it's really very, very good. Uh, what do? We are trying to bring the height of the coconut tree down. Of course, we don't please everybody. Somebody cursed me for the tree being so low, all his nuts are being stolen. So I said, I don't know what the answer is for that. You steal them before the stealer steals them, I said. What else to tell? So we are trying to bring the coconut tree down a little lower. We are looking for ways to make it even more sturdy. We have started a program with the tall trees. I would have started this earlier if I knew better, of finding the sturdiest and the hardiest of trees to make a even hardier hybrid.
Interesting. Very interesting. Can you just tell us about the names of your coconut varieties?
The main variety
Means
is the
meaning
Sampurna, the
means what?
Sampurna hybrid.
Sampurna
Sampurna.
means what does it mean
It,
in
it's a
Sanskrit?
Sanskrit word which means overfull, flowing over.
Okay.
And
And
Pushkala. Pushkala means complete. Sorry, Sampurna means complete.
okay.
Pushkala means overflow.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, thanks so much, David. If I've forgotten to ask you anything or you would like to add, feel free to. You're most welcome. It would be really lovely because this is going to be recorded and available on YouTube also, so it remains as a record there. So feel free to say whatever I've forgotten to raise.
I would like to request your audience, wherever they are, when it's on YouTube from around the world, we are happy to work with anyone in solving their problems or our problems. We are happy to share our information, our breeding techniques. We are not making anything secret. The markets in the world are too big for anybody to try and control it. Annual requirement now is considered to be 120 million seedlings a year. And what is the complete production of organized hybrids around the world? I don't think it's beyond 2 million. So you can imagine the huge opportunity ahead. We are ready to work with people. We are looking for joint venture partners. Also into processing. We are happy to help people with the little knowledge we have, but also to encourage them to set up with whatever support we can give. We have a project to make any state a very viable state by a hub concept, a factory, an industrialist wants with a few acres of land, but we'll get 500 small farmers or 5,000 small farmers around him. We will play that role in making them come into the whole picture so that everybody can grow together.
One very practical question come up here from Ashley DeMello who is asking how many trees can you grow in an acre and how much profit can a farmer get if he plants coconut on 1 acre with other vegetables?
Um, if you plant normal coconut planting, it's 70 trees per acre, 70 trees per acre. Today, the farmer is averaging 3,000 rupees per tree per year, which comes to around 2 lakhs profit. Hmm? Um, um, so, with vegetables, you'll have to plant your coconut trees a little further apart to get more light for your vegetables to grow well. To him, I would say we have another system which is under testing, trial, experimentation, but which is showing very good results. There we have 105 palms per acre in very close together in rows which are 40 feet apart. So there's much more light in the middle. for growing your vegetables or whatever else, and your trees are actually giving you better results. We hope. It's too early for me to say that. So far, we are getting better results, I would say, uh, on lesser water and on lesser fertilizers. So they could get in touch with us and we'd be happy to help those people. But they must remember we have no guarantee that this system is working 4 times out of 5 very well. It's still under research.
David, thanks a ton for all your time and your energy and agreeing at short notice to download all this so useful information to us. I hope that your video stays up there and is watched by a lot many people. So we've had some audience come in and go out during the talk itself. I want to end with one short question. Which seminary were you in? I didn't catch that.
I was in the Redemptorist Seminary here in Bangalore. Mount St. Alphonsus was the name of the house. And the Redemptorist fathers have two homes in Goa, in Podbury and in Varka. My brother was a Redemptorist. He passed away on the 31st of December last year.
Is that
So,
what's his name?
Franklin Lobo. He was a close colleague of Father Desmond
Yeah.
D'Souza.
Yeah.
Everybody knows them.
Yeah.
So I have a close relationship with the Redemptorists because I found them the happiest, most wonderful people that I'd come across in my youth.
And what's your close connection with Goa then?
What's my
Close connection with Goa.
Well, I'm from Goa. I'm from Asagao. My father's from Asagao, my mother from Aldona, and my wife's from Goa too. And she's from Saligao. And we have a little place in Goa. I start my coconut operations there. Most of that's there. Maybe we'll move head office there also. We think Goa is ideal.
All the very best and thank you so much for your time and above all the knowledge you've shared. Wishing you all the best, wishing DJs the best and hope to have an even bigger impact in the years ahead. Thank you so much, David. We'll,
Thank
we'll
you.
end here. We'll end here. It's
Thank you.
almost 57 minutes, but I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Seriously.
I appreciate you asking me to talk. Thank you very much.
That's the least I could do after all the work you put in. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.